can't remember who it was, you guys, on your chat, but was like, oh, let's see how the jungle is going to treat us today.
We have people from all over the world here today, though.
I know.
We have Sardinia. Is Silvana from Sardinia? I was actually there once, many years ago, on a musical journey with Avril Lavigne. Weird enough.
Sardinia.
Yeah, we went to Sardinia. It's one of the blue zones. It's a blue zone, and so is Guanacaste, the province we live in here.
Nosara is a blue zone.
Yeah, we landed in Sardinia, and all of our bags got lost, so I had to live in the same clothes for 4 or 5 days on the hot beaches of Sardinia. And that's where I learned to appreciate, I don't do it anymore, but drinking cold wine in cold cups.
Speaking of drinks, we got our juices here. We're at this co-working space that we come to from time to time in Nosara. And the really great thing about this place is that this awesome cafe, and they have all these amazing juices and drinks.
So we have Sparkling Fay from Austria. Hi, Sparkling Fay. Nasu from Germany. Marta from Warsaw. Utah. Anna. Germany with Seraph253. Adria from California. Vancouver Island, Sarah Clark, what's going on? You're not the Sarah Clark I went to high school with, are you? There's probably a few Sarah Clarks, but I had a good friend named Sarah Clark who anytime I talked about the movie Cool Runnings, she was so emotionally attached to that movie, it would make her cry, like the happy ending of Cool Runnings with John Candy.
Anyways, fun story time about jungles. We were just sharing this with our team. Actually, let me rewind. So Mark and I have started on a really beautiful new venture right now that you guys will know more about it, but since you guys are our official community.
But thank you. Now we're going to keep going back and then catch up. To those of you that helped us on this journey by requesting in the interactive email last month different guests for our podcast.
Well, that's where I'm going.
I know, that's the foreshadow. And then secondary to that, if you're watching this, if we do end up putting this on YouTube, and you're watching this on YouTube, this is our exclusive Boho Beautiful community hangout. And if you're interested in being involved with the amazing, vibrant, wonderful community from all over the world, you can check out bohobeautiful.tv and you can sign up and join us here on the app where we're cultivating and creating amazing love and light and embarking on our mats and wonderful journeys and connecting in opportunities like this.
And connecting on a monthly basis just on these wonderful hangout juice time conversations. Okay, so back to the story. So as you guys know, this is something really exciting for us, but we are starting an official podcast, not like Boho Beautiful Frequency, where it's just me and myself and Mark talking to each other, but this is more of the podcast you guys see where we're connecting with many different people, many different teachers.
It's all guests.
Guests that have a lot of value to offer to the world and having really beautiful, in-depth conversations. So we started the shoot kind of now with Sarah.
We're 5 or 6 episodes in.
The podcast itself most likely will not be released until about September. We're aiming for mid-September, but right now the shooting has begun. And why I'm coming to this is because one of the episodes we did was something that we wanted to do in regards to the reality of moving and living in Costa Rica. And so we did this podcast with 2 of our really close friends here in Nosara who have actually lived here full time. Chris has lived here for 10 years and Angela 6 years, right?
And they don't leave. That's the thing, because there's a lot of people that come here and spend a lot of time going back and forth to wherever their roots are. But we thought it was really important, since it's kind of what we're doing, making this our roots. We thought it was really important to have an episode, because we get asked so many questions about moving to Costa Rica and where to go in Costa Rica and what it's like in Costa Rica, called So You Want to Move to Costa Rica.
And just to paint the reality to people, right? Because people see Costa Rica and it's a beautiful country, don't get us wrong, we are here because of that, but they imagine that life here is just you're hanging out, coconuts and life in perfect weather all the time.
It's snapshot always embedded, etched in stone of me and Juliana with a coconut under a palm tree, just living our best life 24/7.
And those moments do happen when we have those days when we're just really basking in the sun of the most incredible beaches here. But of course, living here and integrating your life into the jungle comes with its challenges. And so we thought it was important to have an open discussion for people to actually know and learn like what it's really like to move your life here and to raise a family here and to bring Wi-Fi into a dense jungle and paved roads.
Because you're dealing with it's actually such a fascinating geographical location because it's all extremes. It's extreme energy, which cultivates, it starts with extreme weather. Like, you have literally 4 months of the year where it just rains nonstop. And then you have the other 4 months of the year where you don't see rain and you wish it was raining nonstop. And so you have because it's 40 degrees Celsius plus. So you have this really interesting, starts with the weather and then you have the land. And the land is you're inside the most accelerated energy field of ecosystem, the jungle, but dense, amazing, beautiful, extreme jungle. And then you come here as Westerners and you're just gonna pave the road and build a little beautiful home and put in extremely effective Wi-Fi, and I'm gonna have my car and just gonna drive to the beach every day and everything's just gonna be smooth like it is in Chicago or somewhere, right? And it's not, because you're trying to actually bring civilization into the most wild and extreme ecosystem on the planet.
But it also teaches you so much of that connection to Mother Earth, and it's really beautiful. But some of the challenges and something that even myself and Mark have really experienced in the last 24 hours is, for example, yesterday, there's a whole thing that everybody's cars breaks down.
Well, because cars shouldn't be in the jungle.
The roads here are really bad, and so even part of the podcast,
and the sea, the sea salt. Humidity and the salt corrodes everything, and then it's raining all the time half the year, and then it's cooking half the time the other half the year.
So yesterday we're driving home, and down the bumpy roads, and then we just hear this noise, and all of a sudden our left front wheel comes off.
He just goes,
literally falls off our car. We're just what happened? And so there we are having to Mark was, and then at the same time, a giant storm is coming through. So you get out of the car, the wheel is warped, and you're oh my God, the wheel just fell off our car. And then you look up and it's just this movie scene. It goes like lightning and storm, and it's coming, and you hear the wind.
And when it rains at this time of year here, it doesn't it's not rain. It's just it's a complete shift in reality. You go from regular life to Waterworld in starring Kevin Costner in 10 seconds. All of a sudden you're just
and then here we are. So then Mark's okay, Juliana, you walk next to the car to make sure we can still keep the wheel on to at least get the car home because the rain's gonna come and we're in the middle of this dirt road and we're literally 5 minutes away from our house. So we're so close. And so I'm walking slowly as Mark's driving 2 kilometers an hour just to get the car moving, and the rain's coming, and I'm soaked like a wet dog. I'm oh God, this is the reality of sometimes what can happen.
And then it's and then they the joke is, I don't know if it's a joke because there's a reality to it, but they're to find a mechanic within 100 kilometers of this area that won't take you. Or hold your car for a month waiting for parts, or it's impossible. So then we're dealing with tow truck guys and guys that are oh, I can fix it at my shop behind my house, and
you're do I really trust your shop behind the house? So long story short, we actually had to have our car towed to the capital city of San Jose because you just don't know,
it's just a trust
it's the
issue.
wheel. What if, thank God we weren't on a highway, right? If we were on a highway, it would be much more dangerous. We were on a little dirt road, so thankfully it was fine. But that's just an example of of what happens, and you just really have to surrender to it. I'm okay, today we're renting a car and this and that, and just
you can't. There's no civilization in the jungle, and bringing these civilized items in here, it's just I've gone through 4 motherboards on my computer, literally because of the humidity. Every 6 months, and now I said it, it's probably due, and I'm gonna regret saying it because we did this on the podcast. We said all these things on the podcast, and then then Tommy, the guy, our technical producer, his wheel fell off on Friday. Then our wheel fell off today, and then now I'm talking about my motherboard. So please be kind to me, and maybe
That's another thing about Nosara, and for those of you guys that ever come,
Costa Rica,
from Costa Rica too, they say the veil is super thin here. And we find that the power of manifestation, good or bad, happens like this. You think of somebody, and then next moment they walk by you. You're what? I manifested this. Or same thing, we had this conversation about cars breaking down, and then that night our technical producer's car. Same thing happened. And it's like
same thing.
Weird little, so it's a powerful energy. It's a beautiful place. We highly recommend everyone to come visit. But, there is when you
there's an initiation, and it's ongoing forever.
Yeah, and we're in the middle of it. And the rainy season.
But through great struggle, all beautiful things are found. Like all growth and all expansion and everything that if you have a desire to move to Costa Rica, I think it is because you're searching for more. But we can't live in a reality where you think more can be found by just switching your circumstances, just the location of your circumstances. You have to switch your entire circumstances, and then those circumstances challenge you, and it's through getting reigning victorious through those challenges in anything in life, whether it's Costa Rica or just growth and expansion in general. That's where what you're looking for is found. Like behind that dragon or that monster that you have to face. And you're never going to be ready for it because it jumps out of you last night in this form manifested in our wheel. But as soon as you face it and you get through it, you're better off than you were before. It's a really beautiful thing, actually.
And it's funny, Michaela, you said, when I visit next year, we'll manifest to run into you. No, Sarah.
Oh my God.
This literally happened.
This happens all the time.
Like we were coming out of this workspace, and then this woman was riding her bike, and then she stops, and she's like, oh my God.
She's like, I was just thinking about you guys. And we're like, what?
And there you go, you manifested it. And somehow, she got lost because she's not from here. And so she was discovering.
She wasn't even supposed to be there, and we were late, so we weren't even supposed to be coming out of that time.
The universe caught us.
Or at Bodega that time, another girl was like, I just finished Ascension an hour ago. Yeah. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I ran? And we're like, what? And so
the manifest. So you never know. Hopefully that happens, because we'd love to meet you and run into you as well.
Right?
But, it's so cool. So anyways, it's been a really interesting couple of days for us here. But we're just vibing with it, and I think that's a great value to take from all of this, no matter if you're in the jungles of Costa Rica or just in life in general. Maybe you guys can relate, but sometimes when things start to go wrong, it's like when it rains, it pours kind of thing, and then everything goes wrong in your life, or that day, especially, you just have a bad day. And I think something for us to take away, it's just learning to almost laugh and find humor in it, because at times you can't control it.
Yeah, no,
and instead of letting it affect you and be oh, I'm miserable, this isn't happening, it's laugh about it and find the humor in the universe.
I think that's the yogic way, the path. It's not about just from time to time. We live in an illusion where we believe we have control, but we live in chaos. Actually, existence is somewhat could be defined as chaos. You can't control anything, and good things are going to happen, we call them good, and things we could call bad are going to happen, we call them bad. But those are just things. That's just the interaction of the randomness of our entire existence, and all of the in all of the matter and consciousness and everything, just ping pong balling off each other in infinite ways. And we love to think that there's control and consistency, but it's no, sometimes you just get a lot of good things you want to call good in a row, and sometimes there's a lot of bad things you call it a bad day. But it's us that's calling it good and bad.
Yeah.
It's us that's giving it these labels. It's just things that happen. Things are just going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, I think we learned, the wheel fell off, we were laughing, it's rain, we're we've come to this, the jungle has given us this beautiful gift of being we were getting ready to record a voiceover for you the other day, 2 days ago. And it was she was ready to press record, we got all the sounds, then it was power cuts out. Because you're not supposed to have power in the jungle. You're not supposed to bring power into the jungle. It's the jungle. And so it took the power away, and it taught us. We laughed. And it's it's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, when you find the humor in the struggle.
And just to roll with it.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's look at some questions.
But you guys also saw some questions coming about Xavian, and if about school, if we're gonna have him go into kindergarten here. And I thought that was interesting thing to share, because again, to kind of go into anybody that is thinking about, I want to spend some time here with my kids. Recently, we found that there is these 2 Waldorf teachers that started their own little mini school. That takes kids between ages of 2 and 6.
Which is amazing, because it's younger than the kindergarten.
Yeah,
and preschool.
And it's a little yurt, and it's enveloped inside the jungle, and kids spend the whole morning. It's only from 8 a.m. to 12:30, so half day. But they get to really connect with nature, and it's all Waldorf styled, and all about using your hands and experience and touch. So Montessori.
Nurturing creativity and exploration.
So that's actually, when we saw that came out, we're oh my God, that's amazing, because when he turns 2, which will be in January, that's where we hope for him to go.
And then when he's 4 or 5, he'll be able to go to the actual Waldorf school on the beach called Estrellas,
Casa de Estrellas,
which is really beautiful. So there's a lot of really great opportunities for children here, anyone with kids. But again, there's a lot of great challenge that comes with it to access that. Anyway. So I'm going back a touch just to some questions about Costa Rica, because that's what we were talking about. Silvana Rosso, it's the rainy season now, isn't it? I mean, I would say
they call it the green season, but
the rainy season September, but holy crap, is it the rainy season to us here?
Like torrential rains.
Torrential rains. But it's like, that's nothing actually in comparison to what it's going to be like in September. Gabriella, you were asking if we drive quads there instead of cars sometimes. We do. We used to actually in summer, we didn't even have a car when we lived there. Yeah. We just had a quad, so it would be much better for shocks.
But with Xavian, I don't feel as safe putting him on a quad right now. You see people do that with little kids here, but I don't want to take that risk. And so having a car with a baby right now is a little bit more safer. And of course, when we travel a lot through the country, we need the car. But I don't know. Maybe at some point we'll get a quad too one day. But right now, we just use our car.
The kindergarten. How is Xavian?
Good.
Laura Benedicto asked, and he's great. He's on the beach right now. What do you mean he's good?
No, he's great.
Every day when we have to work, he gets to go and meet, there's all the different nannies meet on the beach with all the kids, and it's just it's basically a party. It's a beach party.
He has a beach party every morning. He's at a beach party.
And it's to us to know that that's what he's doing right now. It's very, very difficult for us as parents to know that to serve him, we can't always actually be with him. That we have to also serve this beautiful community and Boho Beautiful and what our commitments to sustaining our life. But to know that we're here, and because of that, he's able to go and associate and assimilate with other kids in nature and be given this kind of nature connectivity at such a young age on such a consistent basis. It's really important and reassuring to us.
Yeah. And I just saw that you guys asked how many days do we work. We 5 to 6 days.
Juliana tries to take more time off than that. With
Xavian, but Sundays are our family sacred days. That's something we've implemented, that on Sunday, doesn't matter what's going on. We just are with Xavian, either the beach or at home or whatever we are, just spending time, because we are so busy throughout the week that we want to make sure that we nurture a little bit more extra time on the weekends, especially Sunday. So.
And Jacqueline's asking if Xavian's picking up or learning Spanish, and actually he's doing really well. Yeah. He actually has his own Spanglish. So moon is neither moon nor Luna. It's Luna. So it's kind of it's interesting. I think he likes phonetical sounds that are have a good rhythm to it. So rather than sandals, he prefers to call them zapatos, because it's zapatos. It has a really cool thing. It's kind of like how he loves the word kombucha. He loves kombucha. But so he kind of gravitates to one or the other, and you never know. It's a mishmash of both.
It's definitely Spanglish baby right now.
Oh my goodness, right? And so what else we got here? How many... this is from Chelsea Putnam. How do you balance creating time for productivity creations while living in such a beautiful place? Do you have specific rituals or practices for that? I mean, we work, and I don't want to make this sound like it's hard on us or that we're actually too engaged with our work, but we're very committed to what we do, and so is our team around us, and we show up every day, all day, to create and to then also work on things that support our creations. And so
I think we're also at a very transitionary time right now with Boho Beautiful, where there's a lot of things being birthed. And we haven't even talked about a lot of what's coming up, and our team is growing in a really beautiful way, which also requires us to nurture that as well. When you have other people on your team, you need to give them time, and Mark does that way more than I do, because I'm already balancing also to make sure that Xavian's has time for mama as well. But to say that we do find right now we're where most of the time we're just in work mode.
But
morning
yes.
routines,
Oh my
for
goodness.
sure. Like our morning routine is crucial, and it allows us to kind of soak in the beautiful environment that we are in, the jungle and the ocean.
Mm-hmm. And it's important. I think living consciously is the key to balance. And that's very conscious about what you want to do the next day before the day starts, and very conscious with the minutes that you're engaging in, and making sure that you're always self-aware that those minutes are going to the things and the intentions that you wanted them to go to, not getting caught up into emotion and letting that take your mind and your attention to other things, or getting caught up in things like distractions like social media, or I don't know, just like random conversations about things that are like going to eat up parts of your day and take you away from others. So we're very, very laser focused on morning routines, on blocks of time with Xavian, on when, like, building strong schedules of who gets our attention inside Boho Beautiful, the team, and then when we have attention that goes over to being creative or making classes or shooting or production, and now this whole podcast side of things.
That's added a whole new component of busyness to us.
But conscious living, like alert attention and awareness, like, and diligence towards it. These are like very core fundamental things that we've learned on the mat in our yoga practice, and they're very core fundamental things that we've stepped off our mat and applied to our life in like what might seem an austere type of way, but it's not. It's discipline, and discipline is not a negative thing. Discipline is actually compassion. Like, to have discipline, I heard this talk once about having discipline to not eat the pizza that you see and you just want to stuff your face and keep going forever. That's not punishment. It's actually loving yourself so much that you know that the outcome of that may feel good at the moment, but in the long run, that you're investing in that more so. And so I think it's interesting because Heidi, our friend, who's helping us with the podcast and many other things in our world, she came and lived with us for 3 weeks, and she's like, you guys kind of live like you live in an ashram. I love it. This is so cool because it's very regimented. It's like, because we get up and we're like...
Well, because the morning is also our only time for us to center ourselves. And we need that centering. Even today, actually, I myself needed to take time. Once Xavier went to the beach with the nanny, because we were dealing with all these car situations from 6 a.m. with tow trucks and everything, I felt my energy like this. And we were supposed to get on a call with some staff members. I even told Mark, I'm going to take a half hour and I'm going to recenter and ground myself, because I knew if I just continue to react to 100 things that are pulling at you, I'm just going to wear myself down and not be able to be present in every way that I can. And so it's that awareness as well. As soon as you feel like, when you have a morning routine and things interrupt it, because life always gets in the way.
And you never get to do all the things in the morning routine you'd like to do.
Even 30 minutes, that's all I got today, is enough to just take that time to center yourself. So for us, it's having that moment before life unfolds throughout the day. And to us, it's the morning, because that's our only time. Afternoons are busy. Afterwards, in the evenings, Xavian needs attention, and it's bedtime and dinner and bedtime routine for him, all of those things. So it's like you don't have time for yourself after. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of, mamas and new parents, or parents in general, can relate to that.
Just people, because to start a day and to understand that every day, we don't really know what happens when we sleep. Like, everyone thinks, we just go to sleep, but we don't know where we go or what happens or what that other means, other than just restore and restoration towards our bodies. Sometimes I love the theories and the ideas that you go into like a different dimension or reality.
Where do you go when we dream?
Yeah, where you actually go, and it's weird. Like, if you think about it without knowing what sleep is, like all of a sudden we just like literally leave our bodies for like 6 hours. We go to see crazy things, and then all of a sudden we wake up and we're like human again. We're back, and that reset is, I think, is such an important cue to see as a reset, because it's exactly what it is. So every morning, whether you have a child or not, the importance of being like, okay, I'm back. What do I want to do? How did yesterday go? How do I set the time? And making sure, like, set the day in front of me, but making sure that you're coming back to yourself with enough time, even if it's 20 minutes, but some time to set an intention with a blank slate.
And grounding as well, right? Grounding yourself in your presence, in your own body, because I find that life demands so much of us. And it's really easy to get trapped into this reactive mode where you're just reacting to one problem, the next, and everybody wants a piece of you, your attention, your time, especially not just people, but like devices and social media and the news. And you're just like, your awareness and attention is being ping-ponged everywhere. So it's like, if that happens, and that's the challenge we deal with living in the society that we do today, then at least taking whatever time we can find in the mornings for ourselves without all of that, and like centering in ourselves, in our hearts, in our spirits, and then that will help us walk forward in a more grounded, present way. And so to us, that's what a really morning routine means. It, sometimes it includes a really wonderful hard workout. Other times it's a peaceful yoga practice. Other times it's a 20-minute meditation because that's all we got, And so it's just adjusting.
It's all kinds. It's whatever, trying to be intuitive and listen to what your body needs that morning and supplying that, rather than thinking ahead of time what your body needs and giving it something that may not fit. Like sometimes I just write or I read.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's good to
What are you reading right now? A lot of people are asking about book recommendations.
Silvana Rosso, book recommendations. Actually, I've been going over notes. I've been reading notes that I made when I did a 21-day Deepak Chopra meditation challenge, and I made notes as I did it. Like I studied the ideas and concepts. So I've been spending a lot of time reading and learning, not just reading. I think there's a difference between consciously reading something and consciously reading something to learn. So I've been trying to learn and expand through that. And I also every morning or whenever I do read on my mat, I usually read a few excerpts from the Yogananda's. He's got like a little mini book. The Secret to Success, I think, and it's not The Power of Success. It's something just about really about setting intentions and about bringing the abundance of the world, how to bring that into your life by bringing more awareness, consciousness, and diligent activity towards a focused goal. So I think that world for me. What about you? What are you reading? You're still in the green book, right?
I'm still reading the I Am series. I don't know if there's a specific name for them, but it's by Joffrey Ray King about the Violet Flame Saint Germain series. It's a really powerful book, and I've been really connected and attracted to the work with the Violet Flame and Saint Germain as an ascended master, and his everything to do with his teachings and his beautiful contribution. And yeah, anytime I get I'm still on those books. There's like many series to these books, and they're pretty big, so whenever I get time, I dive into that, and that's a beautiful centering tool for me to just read and remind myself of some really valuable lessons and things to take from. So that's kind of my book right now.
So a couple questions. Sophia, did you guys learn Spanish before moving to Costa Rica, or does everyone there speak some English? It's a really good question, actually.
In Nosara, everybody, meaning people that work here, speaks some English for sure.
So it's hard to practice Spanish because they want to practice English and you want to practice Spanish.
Yeah.
But we've been learning since we've been here, and I think we
could be better.
Oh my goodness, yeah. But we're doing our best because there's not a lot of minutes in the day.
Yeah.
Planning on adopting another fur baby anytime soon from Gabriella?
Oh, guys, yes.
Don't bring that up anymore, guys. No more. We don't need a fur baby. I miss having a fur baby more than anything. But honest to gosh,
yes.
She's like, we almost got a puppy the other day. I'm like, what are we going to do with a puppy? This is crazy town.
There's a lot of dogs in here.
There's a lot of dogs.
Yeah, and we're helping a lot with the Nosara Animal Rescue here, which is this amazing woman that just started helping the animals in need. There's a lot of animals in need, you guys. There's a lot of abuse and neglect happening, just even the surrounding areas here. And we actually almost tried to foster a couple animals, but right now with our travel schedules, just even around Costa Rica, because we're shooting so much podcasts, I couldn't take in an animal that had a lot of special needs and special care. They don't just come as a dog. A lot of the times they either have an amputated leg, or this one boxer right now that needs to be held up when she eats because she's got issues with her esophagus. And so we're as much as I'm dying to help and contribute, it's just I can't bring that on the road. An animal like that with such needs on the road when we have a baby and a crew and so much going on. But it is, there's an emptiness in our heart, and I think it's time for sure.
No, it is.
For us
I know
to
it's
bring,
time, but it's just so
an animal to our life. It's just we have to
figure out
our logistics a little bit more,
and also embrace the idea that there's never a right time.
Exactly.
But that's me. I was speaking from my own place in the center of this. I need that, but you also need to think about the logistics and how we're going to navigate that.
I just like bring in the 5 puppies. We'll deal with it.
Oh
right?
my goodness. Okay, so Hannah Hackley said, "I'd like to know how you calm yourself when you lose your patience with Xavian or with hard side of everyday life, and if you lose it ever." I mean, from time to time we lose it. Not very much like I think we might have. I think every year we're better than before, but I find with Xavian or with anything.
Well, the way to calm Xavian down when he is having one of those episodes or just like he's freaking out as toddlers do is we take him to different natural environments. So show him a tree, take him outside to look at the stars. Like yesterday, he's actually been feeling a little bit under the weather, and yesterday dealing with him having a bit of a fever, he would scream. Like he'd woke up and just screaming, and we didn't know.
3 in the morning.
Yeah, like we just like, how do you soothe a child, in that moment? And we went, took him outside.
Yeah, I was out in the rain actually, standing in the rain.
Immediately, as soon as he went, moon.
Yeah,
moon, and then immediately the nature and stars just like brought him down, and then I could,
It was a trick that we learned when he was an infant actually, and
Yeah.
it was just to change the sensational. What is the word? Sensual. It's not sensual, but it's change the senses stimulation that are coming into him. So it would be like mostly temperature and temperature of room and like the room sound. So if we were in a quiet room, we'd step outside to like a overheated hot outdoor area with nature sounds, or if we were outside, we'd come and step inside, or if we were in a cold room, we go, and it was just like, if we could have made an abrupt change to his senses, that would kind of snap him out of the loop he was stuck in, and it would usually revolve nature. Like most of the time, and all our family and we all just stood by the one like tried and true tactic, which was take him to a tree. As soon as he'd start, I just beeline it to the nearest bush or flower or tree.
And actually, what I also did recently when he, was having another tantrum, and you feel your emotions kind of rising, and this is actually something that we learned from a beautiful podcast conversation we had with the owners of Blue Spirit Retreat Center here, Annette, and she's this incredible somatic therapist and has many different histories of healing and dealing with people with trauma and PTSD. And one thing she was talking about, there's a quick little technique that you can do to ground yourself and deal with anxiety, and I forget the name of it, but it was first obviously breathe, right? So take that exhale and ground yourself and connect, and then start to actually bring awareness to the actual emotions that you're feeling it and saying it. So let's say you're
give it a name it to reframe it.
Yeah, name it to reframe it. So it's okay, frustration, I'm frustrated. Okay, anger, and you're almost you're watching.
It allows you to become the watcher of your emotions, which is really Eckhart Tolle. And when she was
Yeah.
talking about it, I thought a lot about how that's played such a role for us, and that idea of being able to separate yourself from that which you are completely being consumed by. So to pull yourself out of the stream of consciousness, which is whatever that emotion is, and take that moment to be oh, I'm frustrated because Xavian I've taken him to a tree and he's still screaming. And then that allows you to think for a minute as you're from your true center, from yourself.
So you're not reacting, because sometimes I find when you have reaction, your anger comes up and you're just all of us feel that way. So it's taking that step back and be take a breath. What am I actually feeling right now? And when you call it out, and I actually practiced it, and it for the first time to me, I was wow, that was really helpful, because I wasn't reacting immediately upon the emotion. I was frustration, impatience, I was just saying it, and as soon as I said it, it was my other side was so cope with it, so find love, so find patience, It was a really interesting dialogue almost that
it becomes a dialogue, because you become something other than the stream of thoughts
and
that are representing, because it starts as a feeling, turns to an emotion, your emotion then triggers a thought, and then your thought triggers an intention, and then that intention triggers an action. And if in that chain of command you do not become the watcher of one of those 5 steps, then you're owned by that feeling, and that feeling will drive all the way to the top through to action.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting, and actually I've been spending a lot of time meditating on this theory, because I made this up myself, but I've been trying to understand it and figure out that classification. But where self-awareness enters is the moment and the opportunity for control. And once you have that moment for control, you can go back down to, and what one of those techniques is to recognize that emotion and to name it and reframe it, which allows you to then say, well, I'm going to choose an intention that isn't stimulated from that feeling. Mm-hmm. I'm going to choose it from trying to actually divert it to a new feeling, right, and go back to the bottom to reset that energy. It's weird, actually. I didn't think I would vocalize this for a few more weeks, but I have some notes in my book, and I've been writing a lot about it on my mat in the morning, just trying to understand like the train of, because we're all energy fields. Like everything we feel comes from an actual feeling, mm-hmm, and that's just energy bouncing around. Like you can walk in a room, and if it's bad vibes, it starts that bad vibe feeling in you, mm-hmm, which then slowly turns into action as it comes up through you. Mm-hmm. So it's a really fascinating thing to me to think about, that self-awareness is literally the skeleton key to our own freedom.
And also, if you take it one step deeper, when we have those sense of energies and emotions and feelings that arise, and a lot of the times we don't even want to acknowledge them, and we bury them down, right? Maybe it's like regret or betrayal or anything like super powerful and very deep. And if we don't actually come to that awareness, we just push it down. All of these emotions are energies, and that's something that we like talk a lot about in yin yoga classes, right? It's like you have this pent up energy. Physically, it starts to enter your body and stay there. For me, a lot of the times, maybe some people can relate to that, it's the glutes. I hold a lot of my energy, shoulders and my glutes. And what happens with that, when you don't find a way to release it, it starts to affect your other parts of your body, such as your lower back, right? Because your whole body's connected. So if your piriformis is tight, it's going to tighten your psoas, it's going to tighten your lumbar area, and then you're going to be like, wow, my lower back hurts because I'm stressed out. So that's why sometimes when people go into very deep releasing myofascial release that you experience through yin yoga, that is why you experience so much more than just a physical muscle release. It's like people start crying, or they're feeling angry out of nowhere, or they're like, just need to like do the huge exhale and release. It's
we've all had I think most of us,
some sort of emotional
release on the mat.
And that is truly because whatever was in you was stored in there, and that position triggered that muscular release, which then brought the energy up to the surface, and that it needed to be released. That is what also you'll always hear me say in classes, I'm like, don't hold it back, because it's beautiful to release energy. It's good to cry. People see us crying as a sign of weakness, but it's not. It's recognizing that there is something in you that needs to be released so that you can create more space in your own being. So it's an interesting thing about like self-awareness and energy and emotion, but also how can we release it and not allow it to stay in our bodies. So if you feel right now that there's a lot going on in your life, and maybe you feel like you've been keeping a lot of emotions inside, go enjoy a yin yoga class. Take an hour today and just dedicate yourself to a practice where you can find stillness, and through that stillness, let whatever comes up face you and face it head on, and then let it release. It's so amazing. Like, we had some really beautiful cries in yin yoga.
And my favorite classes have
always been yin yoga, and you feel so good afterwards, because you're like, wow, I was holding on to so much baggage, so much energy, so much heaviness, and finally it's out and released. So give it a try, you guys. If any of you out there that's just feeling too heavy these days, just find a yin yoga class on the app right now. We have tons of long length ones too, like 45 to 60 minute yin yoga practices, and just light some candles, burn some sage, and just turn off everything and like go within. It's so therapeutic.
A lot of yin fans in the crowd here. Stephanie Samskara. Just led a yin yoga myself at the studio I'm teaching. I can so relate to people are loving and appreciating it. Laura Benedicto, beautiful, high fives. Wendy Bird, just got my 25-hour in yin, and it is a total game changer. Used to really not like it because of the emotions and facing the fight or flight, but It's so good. Which is funny, actually. I remember at my teacher training, everyone hated the first yin yoga class. Well, not everyone. Anyone that hadn't ever done it. And there was this like football player, like a pro football player in the teacher training I was at, I think he was from Scotland. I forget his name now. He's such a sweetheart. And he came because he wanted to expand his athleticism and get in touch with himself. And he hated yin. He was so mad after the first class. And I was like, I asked him to commit to 2 more. And I said, by the 3rd, it'll be your favorite yoga then. Because if you hate it that much, that means that you have so much processing to do that by the 3rd class, almost always, you will find the effectiveness and how amazing it all can be, which is really interesting.
It's like people hate Shavasana, right? Because they find trouble of just being still and one with themselves without having to distract themselves with other things. It's an interesting perspective too, is that if you think about like any time we have moments where we're just alone in solitude, it's like we always subconsciously reach for the device to be like, oh, I'll check my email, I'll check my text, I'll check my Instagram. You know, it's like we are starting to have a difficult time of just being one with ourselves. And I see this a lot in Shavasana. And I think I told the story, but back in the day, I used to teach at this like super high-endy like fitness club called Equinox. And, you know, because of the memberships, like
it was like downtown Toronto, like
yeah, so it was like
the business community.
So all the clients that I'd have, all the students that would come to my classes were all like lawyers and like finance people. So they're very, very, you know, business minded. And then every time it came to a Shavasana, half the class would leave. They were like, oh no, I don't have time for this. I did my yoga. Like, I'm not gonna stay in silence. I need to check my emails.
And they're the ones that need the stillness
more than anyone. And that's the thing. They were the ones that really needed to just like, relax. And it's interesting. Like, we have a really hard time of finding peace within our own solitude, you know?
Chelsea Putnam's asking, would you ever lead a teacher training? And I think the answer is...
One day, sure.
Yeah, of course we will.
Opportunity came up. But...
We'd love to. I think it's because... I think in teacher trainings, we've had a lot of talks with yoga teachers lately. And on our podcast, we had a talk with Juliana's very first yoga teacher who taught her very first yoga teacher training, who serendipitously had the moment to come up here.
Again, the universe
manifested it for us
her
to be on the podcast. And we talked a lot about how, well, yoga is not just asana. And we can never emphasize that point enough. It's not just the stretch, it's not just the time of your mat. In fact, that's only to do the work so that when you go off your mat, that's when yoga really comes into play to lead a yogic and a yogi life. And so I lost my train of thought.
You were talking about Jackie.
But how did that relate? We talked about Jackie. Oh yeah, and then teacher training. And we know that eventually we'd love to teach teacher trainings because not enough time is spent on them teaching the other 6 limbs or 7 limbs of yoga, like the actual applying it to your life and the philosophy, because it's not just mindfulness and it's not just movement. It's a perception of like love, generosity, honesty, and compassion.
It's embodying yoga as a form of lifestyle rather than just something you do for a form of exercise, right? And that's something that can really change people's lives because they start to apply all the different things that they learn on the mat to themselves, and then how do they apply it to their earthly experience? Because, you know, you're spending maybe an hour on the mat, the rest of the time you live elsewhere doing other things. And so it's like, how can you apply those ideas and principles and things you learn about yourself to your life so you can be a better human being?
Exactly. So Stephanie Samskara is very happy Jackie Cheeto was on the podcast. Because it was her first yoga teacher too.
Amazing.
It's true, isn't it amazing? It was so cool.
She's so amazing.
It was literally like we got the idea and we called her and she's like, we had one day she could be on it and she had one day she could be on it.
Because she actually just finished doing another teacher training just in a different town here in Costa Rica. And so she hopped on a shuttle and came and met us in Nosara. And we had one night and we had a beautiful conversation with her. And again, it's just like, it's wonderful how things manifested together.
And she's amazing because I really respect somebody who has a deep appreciation that the spiritual community and is about finding a truth. And through the practice of whatever your method of spirituality is, yoga, meditation, mindfulness, healing, whatever it is that you focus on to find that wholeness inside, She's a very, very strong advocate of finding your truth and not holding it back to the world, but at the same time respecting everyone else's truth. And that's more needed now in this time and era than ever before. And I think the truth also has to be open to other people's truths. And she has a very deep wound, I think, from COVID and how much the spiritual community divided based on certain paperwork you might have. And that was a really enlightening conversation because as a yogi, it's our job to be in the middle of all this. We're not supposed to be divided.
And yoga is about unity, right? That's what yoga stands for. Like yoga itself, it's the sun and the moon, the union of those two energies coming together. If you look at it literally, and so there's something really to be said about the division that is happening in the world right now, based on everybody's perspectives and views on certain things, and how that's being implemented into the yoga space, into the yoga communities, and how the division is happening there, where that is the one place where I find that union should be implemented and inclusion should be, practiced, no matter what belief system, no matter what someone has or not. It's about coming together in the moment to connect to our source and our spirit. It's not about what your view is on a specific political topic or a medical procedure, so it's interesting. It's really, really interesting. And then that's kind of, she felt very passionate about it just from being in the middle of it all, and we feel very similarly to that as well, where we hope that there should be more inclusion in this space.
And to hold the middle for everyone, to just hold, that's what I love about it. It's to keep space for all rather than to restrict your space for some. It's beautiful. It was really nice.
Yeah. But speaking of yoga and speaking of...
I know, we're really yogaing this up, eh?
The 8 limbs and everything. So as you guys know, as a community, and maybe for those of you guys that are new to the Boho Beautiful official community, every month we like to do our Karma Project, where you should receive an email in your inbox. If you haven't, please check.
We also post it now in the Welcome to Boho section. We started that last month.
Yeah. There's 3 different charities or organizations that we felt we would love to support, and we want everybody to come together because we are a community here, and cast your vote. And you can read about the organizations and the charities and the work they do and what their service is to the world, and maybe cast your vote if you can. And then at the end of the month, once the votes are in, the top voted organization will get $2,000, and then the other 2 will get slightly less money than that. So it's kind of like we're tiering it in 3.
Trying not to frame it like a competition, because it's more about guiding the more of the energy of everyone towards one place. So it's not really about like first, second, third. It's
and that's why
like,
we don't like to see the first place.
Yeah,
but
it's such a weird thing. We haven't figured out the language around it yet, and it's really
I think for us it was like we didn't want to just all vote and only one organization gets it and the other 2 get nothing.
And we didn't want to just be the ones to just choose it ourselves, because we did that for a while too, and it was just kind of like we wanted to include everyone. So
we're like,
we're trying to figure it out.
Let's see like what the most desired one is, what everyone's vote is, but then let's also give back a little bit, to the other organizations, because everyone's doing wonderful service. We can't really say these people are better than the other. It's just more like, who do you connect to more? Make your vote. Yeah. So anyway, so that is in your inbox.
And then also on that note, and I don't have Jordan from our he's sort of runs our entire back-end tech for Boho Beautiful. He'll be upset with me for mentioning this without having perfect clarity, so I'm gonna mention it with as much clarity as I can remember. But in our last check-in, or maybe it was 2 ago, we talked about subscribing for Boho Beautiful Official through through the .tv portal versus the Apple or the Android stores themselves. And actually quite a few of you, you responded and worked through it with him or just did it yourself, which is incredible. So the reason we brought that up was because if you're subscribed to our app through either of the app stores, I think they take like 30 or maybe more. I don't know the percentage. They changed it recently, but they used to take like 45. They take a lion's share of your money instead of it coming into where you wanted to support, which is us. And so all we had said is there's a really, really easy way, and it's actually underneath the check-in, or you can email contact@bohobeautiful.life to just change the location of where your dollars go through. Same, nothing changes to access, nothing changes to like, oh, then I can't get it on my app. You still have everything exactly as you have, but you have the assurance that by taking the 5 minutes of just switching that out, that your money and your dollars are going to the people, hopefully us, like instead of Apple, because I mean the dominant monopoly of the tech world, they've got enough billions and trillions at this point, I think, that they don't really need more votes from us, but it makes sure that it goes to where you want it to go, because every dollar we spend in this world is a vote. And so if you can control where the entire dollar goes, then that's a beautiful thing. And we really, like, we stand by very passionately that we try to consciously spend our money to the world we want to see, and giving it to the people that we think are worthy of the representation of our time the most, because our time we exchange for money, and then we have money. We all have money because we work a job or whatever we do. And then,
so bring it back to,
anyways,
you're going off into that one topic.
No, but the point is, if you guys want, and thank you to all of you that did, but if you're interested in adjusting your account so that it's not going to the tech monopolies and it is going to Boho Beautiful, and our team and everything we do, you can just literally look at that. You can email contact@bohobeautiful.life and Jordan can walk you through it, or you can go, I think he put the instructions underneath the check-in video.
Okay, so why don't we guide you guys all, if you want to switch what Mark is saying, and this isn't going to affect any of your accounts, this is just a quick little switch you can do if you want to. You just go to the last monthly check-in video, which should be at the very top of the Boho Beautiful app and desktop experience. Click on the video, and in the description of the video, there will be instructions on how to exactly step-by-step to just slightly switch your account.
So some quick questions on this. I'm almost positive he put written instructions underneath the last check-in video. Number 2 is, how do you know where your money is going? The answer to that is how you're paying on a month-to-month basis. Are you paying through Apple? Or are you paying through Android? Like, did you click in the store and say subscribe through there? Then that means it's going through them and they're taking their piece. If that's the way that you signed up and the way that your money goes out to your Apple account or your Android account, it's just literally a quick switch, and it's on boho.tv. So that's that answer. And then
hope that's not too confusing
for
you guys.
But and Hannah said it. Jordan is awesome, and Jordan is awesome.
Yeah.
So is Stacia, who's on here monitoring, but there's not a lot to monitor because it's such great energy. So that's amazing too.
We usually like to include a monitor, someone from our team, when we do like more public live stream YouTube things, because you never know the type of people that just enter the conversation, and sometimes y'all like trolls or very strange people, and so it's good to have someone moderating in case you need to like kick somebody off because they're being spreading too much negativity or something like that.
But that's usually the YouTube stream. That's why this one's so special.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, because it's like, it's not even our community or even our YouTube community. It's like random people that are like, oh, there's a live going on, I'll just hop in, because anybody can hop in. So anyways, so that is that about the quick little switch. And then another quick little news that I think will be really exciting for you guys to know. So we were really working hard last 2 weeks ago, shooting at a beautiful retreat center called Mystica Retreat Center in Costa Rica here. And we shot a full 7-day Pilates series for you guys. And it is a really wonderful quick bite series, because we understand a lot of people don't have an hour to commit to a full workout. So they're like 15 to 20 minute classes, and we just posted our first one, as you'll see in the new releases. That was more of like an activation, we call the class, where it goes down more of a basic engagements of the Pilates class, and then every week there will be a new practice released
every
for
second
you.
week.
Sorry, every second week. The schedule release more than I do.
Well, we didn't want to do 7 weeks of Pilates, just in case not everyone is really into Pilates.
Yeah, so
we're dripping it out every 2 weeks.
Yeah, but eventually there will be the full 7-day series. But I'm just really excited to share that, because I know it's been a while that we've shared any kind of Pilates classes. There's been workouts and yoga workouts, but not strictly Pilates. And so this is a really beautiful offering for those of you guys that connect to Pilates workouts and that type of movement. I know for me, it's changed my body a lot in regards to the strength and the core strength, because going into yoga, like back years and years ago, I got into this because I had a really, really terrible back injury from a gymnastics career. And Pilates and yoga were the two things that, honest to God, saved my body. Like, I could barely walk, but this is how bad my injuries were. And Pilates helped me redefine and find that powerhouse they talk about, that inner core and that stability and connected. And so I could function again as a human being, and then develop more and more strength as I went. So it's a really beautiful, like, low impact physical workout. So I think it can be very beneficial for either anyone that's just like likes that type of workout, or if you're even, getting over an injury or something. It's really, really a beautiful way to work your body differently. And I think it's a wonderful way as well to incorporate with different yoga practices, because we have to remember that our bodies adjust. So if we do the same type of yoga, let's just say every day, and you don't bring in a new style or a different way of movement, your body will kind of coast, because then the muscles will get used to it. They'll have the proper strength, and then you're not going to be actually challenging your coordination or the strength of different parts of your body. And so always just making things exciting for you, integrating other types of yoga classes or Pilates classes or workouts, or even, getting into nature and just doing something more active.
Variety is the secret to life.
Variety is the secret, for sure.
Not just body, but mind too. If you don't challenge your mind on a regular basis, your mind gets soft. They say, like, when people retire and they don't do anything after because they're not
That's when they die.
That's when they start to deplete the most.
Yeah,
so
because there's no purpose, right?
Well, not even purpose, but there's nothing to engage and to challenge and to cause those little bits of stress, which equal little bits of growth.
Yeah.
And the elasticity of
And
everything.
just also comment, because the Pilates series that are coming out, there are shorter classes, meaning they're only like 20 minutes. We do have long form classes also shot for you guys. So there will be hour-long yoga practices that will be released.
Yeah, people are asking.
Intermittently with those as well, because we know we've done some surveys, and there's a lot of you guys that really connect to like the 45 to 60 minute, and then others that really enjoy slightly shorter due to your life circumstances. So we want to be as inclusive for everybody's lifestyles and needs. That's why we try to release the shorter classes for you exclusively, but also at the same time you have some long format as well. We actually shot a really beautiful yin yoga class in the dark with candles in the jungle. It's amazing.
It was really cool.
Powerful, yeah.
Christina Jail's asking where to start because she hasn't started Pilates yet. What's the easiest?
So
do we have beginners?
We do have a couple beginner Pilates classes on the app. So if you use the filter function on the desktop or on the app and just pick beginner class, or I think it's beginner and chill, we have it, and then put Pilates.
Maybe. It might, beginner and chill's usually yoga though. So be careful with that.
But it should still
There's not a lot of Pilates videos. You can look for shorter ones and ones that say easy or beginner.
Yeah.
And
the titles themselves actually also will say that if it's a more beginner
And
class.
then the other thing is to just find one that you like to try some out, and to recognize if you're not, like, if you're feeling great stress in your neck, or you're feeling great stress in your stomach or in your back, there's like, it means that you don't quite have the muscle strength, and to stop at that point, but to keep coming back until that point keeps happening. And it's really a slow burn journey.
And it's also the beautiful thing about Pilates, and I try to include this in most of my classes unless they are more advanced, and that's modifications. So you can start a class, but you'll be like, okay, but if you want to take it a little bit easier, this is a way you can modify it. So always taking that a practice and just seeing what are the modifications and modifying it, like Mark was saying, keeping your head down most of the times. That's one way. If you're feeling too much stress in your neck. So things like that are very appropriate for those kinds of things. And you're getting your activator out.
Yeah, no, it's for them and for me, because I could use some. But anyways, this is the moment where we talk about these guys. Sun Warrior, who sponsors these little streams with you guys, and we deeply appreciate them, because actually they send us this stuff, and it keeps us going.
Yeah.
In a huge way. Every day, the Protein
You guys
Warrior.
heard us about us using their proteins a lot.
Yeah, we use the proteins a lot, but they just dropped out 2 new products. One is called Active Energy, and it's a pre-workout, which is super interesting to take before you work out. And then the hydration I take throughout the day, which is just sort of like keeping optimal levels of hydration. Its pillars are coconut water, vitamin C, elderberry for immunity, and then B12 for energy. So it's really nice as a supplement. I mean, I listened to a Sadhguru podcast the other day, and his whole mission he was monotonously
You weren't a fan of that podcast, right?
he's just so like reluctant, like, no, I'm reluctant to connect because it's like he's beating people in the head sometimes. But about topsoil erosion, which was really interesting, in the quality of our nutrients being removed from all of the ways that we farm, and I thought it was very fascinating and valuable. And he was kind of down talking supplements, which is interesting, and up-talking soil, but in a time when his premise was the soil doesn't have the supplements we need anymore. Supplementation is so key.
I want to just show you guys, like, can you get him? Look how green he is. There's like this incredible green iguana.
He's gone. He just left. He literally just left. So anyways.
Like bright lime green iguana.
Lime green. So Sun Warrior, speaking of the fact that we don't get enough nutrients in the soil into our vegetables that we eat, and even if you're not vegan like us, a lot of it, like the grass that feeds the food you might eat, if so be it that's the way you want to choose, we're not getting what we need. So supplementation is becoming more and more and more important. And it may not be optimal, like that's how human beings are supposed to get our supplements, but with what we've done to the world, it's kind of what we need to do at this point. And so anyways, this hydrator, I really love it. Like it's really interesting, the flavoring and all that kind of stuff. And they've just come out with some really interesting new products outside of the protein that we're so used to using. And that's Sun Warrior. There's going to be a code at the bottom of this. I think it's like
10% off. But if you guys do, like, I know someone just commented they don't ship to Germany, but you know, if you're in America and Canada or anywhere, I don't know exactly what the limitations of Sun Warrior's shipment is, but I don't know. Try it out, because we use it all the time. It is part of our lifestyle. That's why we feel good to share the coupon code, and why we keep promoting them, because otherwise, we don't really care to just talk about products.
Yeah, no, but it's actually what we do. And I think that what's cool about that is, if it doesn't go to Germany, is I just encourage the idea of optimizing yourself. If you live a more vibrant existence internally, it shifts the external output and involvement and interaction you have with your entire life. And in a world where the food we get, the interesting stat was, when you eat an orange in 2022 versus 1920, it's 20 times less nutrient dense.
Wow, really?
So it's like eating a 1/20th of an orange 100 years ago, because of the soil. Because the soil is so weak, and the way that the monoculture is just killing it. Like, it's literally killing the soil. So then all of the nutrients that would be grown from our food are no longer there. Wow, which also explains why when we're in Costa Rica and everything is so close to earth, and it's kind of like 50 years ago.
Why the food tastes so much better here.
Why the food tastes so much better, and why we always say we're more vibrant here.
Yeah, it's so true.
Right?
Just something about the food here. That's a beautiful way to wrap up this conversation too. We started with like the craziness of the jungle, but the one amazing thing about the jungle in Costa Rica is the food. Like Mark said, is a lot of it is grown here, and you eat from the source. There's less imported food. There are some, but not as many. And you feel it and you taste it, and it just like that tomato or that papaya or the watermelon, it just tastes so natural, and the way I find that fruit and food should taste. So
a couple quick questions as we wrap. So, because it's just about what we're talking about, and I'm passionate about it. Sophia's asking what struggles you've faced being vegan, and what are the best aspects of it. And I think the only struggles has been the social stigma. I think there's a lot of social stigma, especially lately, more lately than when we started, because the bigger the movement gets or the diet gets, the more people that are opposed to it need to speak louder. So there's like the social stigma, or maybe even some like family things that you have to deal with from time to time. But what's the best aspect of it is feeling amazing.
Feeling amazing, but also knowing that your contribution to like peace on earth, right? Because by not consuming animal products or animal byproducts as well, you are making sure that our dollars do not go to support any of those industries. So because
once you see where it goes, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And once you see where it goes, there's a connection, as we were saying earlier, that every dollar is a vote. And when you buy something that's contributing to that, that's saying consciously and ethically that you're okay with that.
Paul McCartney had this really powerful quote when he said, if all slaughterhouses had glass walls, we'd all be vegetarian.
We would, it's a fact. For sure. Well, not all of us, because there's some people who actually don't make a connection, like that level of empathy or compassion.
But to us, that's how
and how many years ago, Silvana Rosso, did you switch to a vegan diet?
We've been vegan for 9 years, fully.
And
You've been vegetarian before
for almost 24 years vegetarian, with a time in it where I was vegan, which it was so difficult.
That's the beautiful thing nowadays. To be vegan is so much easier than it was 20 years ago. Now, like even in Costa Rica, you go to like the organic, more expensive store here, but you have all the like alternative vegan food that you can enjoy. Where back in the day it was much more difficult. So, yeah.
And Tashina, last question, going full circle back to the very beginning of this podcast.
What?
When and where will the podcast be available?
Well, our goal with the podcast is September. Mid-September is going to be the launch and release of the first season. And we're planning to have it everywhere, because our goal with this podcast is not just to share beautiful conversations with our community, but to open doors to welcome new people into the community. So it'll be Spotify, iTunes, Apple, all the platforms.
All the platforms, YouTube. We're going to put exclusive stuff here for the community.
Yeah.
So all kinds of stuff. And the guests that we're looking at and talking to, it's really, really, really a dream come true. Like,
what we're learning from these incredible people, like that, to us, it's like, and that's our hope, that through our conversations and through our inquiry, others in our community can learn with us, because there's so much knowledge to learn, and there's so many amazing people out there that have so much to give, and so much value and service and knowledge and wisdom to share with all of us. And so if we can just mine a couple things here and there, I think, we can all just try and live better quality, peaceful lives. So,
and we cannot wait to tell you the name.
Yeah. Well, you guys are going to get all like the first exclusive announcements, because we really appreciate all of you guys here on this beautiful community, and we want you to know how much we appreciate you. And so as new things envelop, and as we said, there's new projects coming out and new things coming up, we're always making sure that our community here, Boho Beautiful Official, all of you guys get the first exclusive look, launch, access to all of these things that come out before the public. So we want you guys to know that, like, you are our core here, and how deeply, deeply we love you and appreciate you, because you give us this amazing fire and fuel to do what we do, and to put so much of our energy into all of these incredible things that we release. Speaking of which, so we're going to wrap this up, because we actually are going to go to a longevity clinic here in Nosara, because of the amount of demand that the last week and a half has caused on our bodies. We feeling a little bit under, like, depleted, and so we go and we get these infusions, like vitamin infusions, where you just put it into your vein and you get this like super amazing super cocktail of all the vitamins into your body.
And I'm going to do an ozone infusion.
And Mark is doing an ozone infusion. And so and again, if somebody that wants to come to Nosara, there's a beautiful place called the Longevity Clinic, and it's in the Blue Spirit Retreat Center that you can come to. You don't have to stay at the retreat. You can just show up and drop in and get these incredible treatments for your body to optimize your health and your well-being. So that's what we're off to now, to get ourselves some energy before a beautiful new adventure awaits us this week. We're heading out to San Jose to speak to some amazing people.
Three more episodes.
Yeah.
3 more episodes. One, do we want to? Yeah. One's with.
You'll see it.
Okay.
We'll see it.
Look at that. She's holding me back. My goodness.
All right, you guys. Well, just want you all to know how much we love you.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here with us today.
Thank you for a lovely hour and a little bit conversation. And again, if you are watching this on YouTube, if you'd like to join our community, go to bohobeautiful.tv and you can join this beautiful, beautiful place that we've created with all these wonderful human beings.
Amazing, everybody.
Guys, have a beautiful week, beautiful weekend.